What's up, guys? This is TJ Perkins, and you're listening to Count It Out with Mike and Tyler.
Listening to Count It Out with Mike and Tyler.
Well, we are live, pals, and welcome to another edition of the Bill Apter Seal of Approve. Count It Out with Mike and Tyler. I'm going to talk like this. I'm going to talk like this all day. My name is Tyler. I am joined, as always, by the one and only Mike. What's shaking, brother?
Not a whole lot, man. First and foremost, I want to thank everybody who's checked out our interview with Homicide. If you haven't done so, please go check it out. We dropped it last week. I also want to thank everybody who's poured out emotion and feedback and everything towards that interview. I want to thank all the fantastic publications that have picked up and put through the word of the interview. It all helps. Thank you so much, everybody. But most importantly, thank you to Homicide for trusting Count It Out to make such an important announcement and to be so vulnerable and open with us. We've always, I think I speak for Tyler here when I say that Count It Out has always prided itself in not being a dirt sheet. We never focus on the negative. I like to think that we're one of, if not the most positive wrestling podcasts in the world. We come out and we just talk about wrestling. Every once in a while we're gonna shit on something. It's hard not to when AEW does some of the crap they do, and WWE. I shouldn't just pick on AEW. There's some real crap in the world of wrestling, and we're gonna crap on it sometimes. But for the most part, we don't dwell on that. We talk about how much we love wrestling. That's what our lists are always based on, and that's what our interviews are always based on. When we have people come on our show, we don't want to, it's not like Tyler and I sit there going, okay, what can we ask this person that's really going to get clicks? We're not about the clickbait. We don't care. We want these people to come on. We did not ask Homicide about his retirement plans, anything like that. We didn't know about them. He told us, I'd like to make this announcement on your show. Thank you for trusting in us, sir. We hope that's not the last time you come on our show. We're big fans of you. We're big fans of your team and your supporters, and we can't to see how your career progresses in the backstage role.
Yeah, I've spoken with Homicide since the interview dropped, and he's it's a lot of emotions for him, right? A lot of stuff going on, but he said he's happy, he feels confident with everything, and that's the most important thing.
Exactly.
And like you said, we built ourselves over, it's coming on to 5 years now being a positive podcast. So what a heel turn we're going to have when we start doing dirt sheet clickbait, right? That's going to be a great heel turn for Count It Out when we just start becoming slime, right?
Yeah.
But no, I was really proud of that interview. I thought it was really nice, and I'm very happy with how it turned out. And the only negativity that you're ever going to hear on our show is me shitting on your list, so which will happen. Maybe even today, who knows? You're going to be counting down the top 7 greatest sellers in the history of professional wrestling. So I'm excited to dive into that. I'm also excited because in about 2 weeks' time, we are going to be at the Elimination Chamber in Toronto.
Right.
And this card is shaping up really well. Before we talk about everything about it, let me ask you, I want to know your thoughts about the individuals that we are going to be seeing in both of the chamber matches, and if you're happy with the match and how it's come together. And let's start with the women's side there. What are your thoughts on the elimination chamber for the women so far?
All right, so spark my memory here. We got Tiffany Stratton. No, sorry, that's the tag match. We've got Liv Morgan, Bianca Belair, Alexa Bliss, Bayley, Naomi, and Roxana Perez.
Yes, Liv Morgan, Bianca Belair, Alexa Bliss, Bayley, Naomi, and Roxana Perez. Correct.
I like this mix. Trying to think if there's anyone I'd rather see in the chamber, and I think there's no one I'd rather more than anybody here. If you switched out somebody for somebody else, it could probably work too. But this is an okay mix. I like this mix of women. Um, I'm interested to see what Alexa Bliss has in store. We haven't seen her in the ring in a very long time, so to have her in right away was almost surprising to me.
Hmm.
But I don't hate it. I'm a big fan of Alexa Bliss, so to just be able to say, okay, we're going to see her at Elimination Chamber, no problem. That makes me happy. Liv's been doing great work. Bailey is on a hell of a run right now. I want to see what Bailey. I think Bailey's going to go in and like tear ass. She's going to go in. I think we're going to see a violent side of Bailey at Elimination Chamber. I at first was a little on the fence and maybe even on the wrong side of the fence a little bit about having both Naomi and Bianca Belair in there. I wasn't sure about having both the tag team in the same match. But with this stuff going on about who injured Cora Jade and all this stuff, I'm thinking that one of these members is going to have a heel turn coming up. I think it's going to turn out to be one of those two girls,
Hmm.
not Judgment Day. And maybe that plays into the Elimination Chamber somehow. So we'll see.
So it is going to be the winner of this is going to be taking on Rhea Ripley at
Mm-hmm.
WrestleMania, as Charlotte has chosen Tiffany Stratton. Um, who interests you the most to see go against Rhea Ripley?
If it wasn't the fact that I think that Bianca and Naomi are going to end up breaking up and probably doing something together at WrestleMania, I would normally say Bianca.
That would be mine. I'm with you on
But
that. I'm with
but
you.
but I don't think it's going to be Bianca. I could go for almost anybody else because a woman like Roxanne Perez could really make her name right now. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? I don't think Liv needs this. I don't think when
I
I
don't
think if
think,
anybody I don't want to see win, it's Liv, and it's not because I don't like Liv. I like Liv. I just don't think that I think it gets wasted on Liv. I
and
don't think Liv needs this.
I don't think we need to see Liv and Ripley
So
again.
so I'm gonna
They've just been working for about 9 months now, right?
so I'm gonna go with Bailey, I think.
Yeah.
I think I want to see Bailey go through this. Bailey versus Rhea at WrestleMania is going to be a hell of a match. Yeah, I think that's my call.
I agree with you about the Bianca Belair stuff. She would be my pick if it wasn't for this storyline that she's in.
Hmm.
The match that intrigues me the most to see at WrestleMania is Bailey versus Rhea Ripley. However, I think that we're going to see Bailey doing something with Roxana Perez around this time because they've been really building their rivalry up over the last couple weeks and months.
So you going
So
Alexa?
I think Alexa Bliss is gonna
Wow,
take the chamber. I'm gonna be pulling
I'm
for
not.
Bailey.
Okay.
Bailey is who I would like to see win. And if they don't, if Bailey and Roxana aren't doing anything going forward, then I think Bailey is your hands down winner here, and I think that's the best match. But I'm just kind of looking at the card and looking where everybody is. Like
Yeah.
We've just seen Liv and Rhea have their program for months. So like I don't see them revisiting that already.
Okay.
Bianca, Naomi, and Cargill look like they're going to be busy heading into Mania.
Yeah.
Bailey could be tied up with Roxana, so that leaves Alexa Bliss. And what an intriguing matchup that is, too. But is Alexa Bliss going to be, is she not moved to SmackDown, though? And is she rumored to be joining up with the Wyatt Six, maybe?
Right now, I don't think the brand split means anything when it comes to these titles at all right now. Um, because you have people from both brands in these matches, right? So I don't think it matters. That's not what we should be looking at. That second thing you said, she is rumored to be part of the Wyatt Six. We did see a little glitch on SmackDown while she was talking, so that kind of confirms it. But what does this
Interesting.
mean? Does the Wyatt Six help her win the Elimination Chamber? What do we see? We haven't seen a whole lot from the Wyatt Six lately. I'm not
They've
exactly
been
sure
off
what they're
TV.
doing. Yeah, so maybe Alexa Bliss is the way to make them pop again. I don't know. They got to do something with that group real fast, or cut it though.
I mean,
You know what I mean?
and I said this, I thought their debut segment was really good, but since then
What have they done since?
I haven't
Yeah,
really, yeah, it's not been my cup of tea.
yeah.
Let's go into another match here. Tiffany Stratton and Trish Stratus going up against Nia Jax and Candice LeRae.
Yeah,
Interesting match here.
interesting's a word for it. I'm so on the fence on this. I don't know how to feel about this. On one hand, seeing Trish Stratus in a ring in the Sky Dome in Toronto, what could any Canadian boy want more? Right? Sh- she's the best ever. I'm gonna be hanging out with our good friend Matt Zuckram that weekend. And the last time Matt Zuckram was at a WWE pay-per-view, I'm pretty sure, was Unforgiven '06, where she was in that ring beating Lita. You
Yeah,
know what I
that's
mean?
probably the greatest pay-per-view in the history of Canadian pay-per-views that didn't even
Yeah,
make
yeah,
your
yeah, yeah, yeah.
list.
Yeah. Good thing we're going to be starting a relist program soon.
Yeah,
Um,
that's one that I'm never going to allow you to even look back on. You're out.
uh, but with this, no Trish teaming up with Tiff Stratton, Nia Jackson, Kid Ray. Now I get it. They're a tag. I guess they're a tag team. They're
Yeah,
friends.
they've been together on
Yeah,
screen for a few months now.
yeah. But I don't know, it just doesn't make sense with everything the way we're going into WrestleMania. To me, it just doesn't make sense. Why have the champion involved in this when the champion is just really got her ass kicked by the Queen Charlotte Flair? This is not where Tiffany Stratton. This is not where you want your champion putting her priorities.
I'm surprised
You know what I
that
mean? I don't know.
I'm surprised it's not a six-man tag, in all honesty.
Hmm.
And having, Charlotte teaming with Nia and Candice,
Yeah,
or even Charlotte and Nia against Tiffany and Trish,
yeah.
because also Charlotte has that history with Trish Stratus as well. They had that phenomenal match at SummerSlam a few years ago in Toronto. Um, I mean, no slouch. I love Candice LeRae, and I'm really happy she's
Me
getting this
too.
opportunity. But
Yeah.
I don't understand why Charlotte's not involved in this. And you know what? It's now I don't know if they're going to add another match or not because they've been running 4 or 5 matches per pay-per-views lately.
The last few Elimination Chamber matches have usually been um not including dark match or pre-show, whatever you want to call it, have been 5 matches. It's usually been three undercard matches. Um,
And we got 4 matches at the
I
Royal
wouldn't be
Rumble.
surprised if they kept it just like this, to be honest, but we'll see.
Very surprising that we don't have any of our big champions on this card. Now
So far, yeah.
I know that this card is meant to shape WrestleMania and crown contenders, but
But you
no,
almost always get a championship match at Elimination Chamber.
yeah, and I don't even like a lot of big names missing, which also goes to like show how great this roster is right now because
Right, that you
they
can leave all these people off the
well,
card.
yeah, you don't have Cody, you don't have Jey Uso, and you don't have
Yeah,
Gunter all on this card.
exactly.
And did you see Gunter's tweet last night after Raw?
No,
He put this because he
I
did
saw
the
I saw his great entrance
yeah
when he did Jay's. I
he
loved
did
it.
the
I loved all that.
Jey
Yeah,
Uso thing, and he said, after last night, I want to tell you that I have the utmost respect for Jey Uso. I don't know how he stands in the crowd with all those smelly fans every week. Like, just such a great line. What a great heel he is. Yeah, but I'm pumped up to see Trish Stratus again. I think that'll be a
me
fun
too.
match. Good rub for Tiffany. Um, Charlotte could get involved in it. Who knows, right?
We'll see.
A match I'm really pumped up for. They added last night, unsanctioned
Hmm.
match, Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens, another chapter in this incredible battle of, 30, 20 years that these guys have
I'm
been teaming and fighting.
I'm scared about this match, man. I'm bringing my 6-year-old to this. I hope they don't go too violent.
They are
But
going to go violent, and I think this is where we see the return of Randy Orton to the company to set up a WrestleMania match with Kevin Owens.
I hope so. I hope so.
That would be a big pop and a cool
Yeah.
moment for sure. And then, of course, the men's elimination chamber match. We have John Cena versus CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre versus Logan Paul versus Damian Priest versus Seth freaking Rollins. What a stack
Hmm.
lineup that is.
Well, this is the most stacked elimination chamber in history, I think. Like
Is
this is
there
insane. Except for maybe the very first one, but this is insane.
Yeah, the one in Puerto Rico was a pretty stacked lineup too, with
Yeah.
like Triple H, Randy Orton, Batista, Jericho, and Benoit.
Yeah, that
That
was
was
pretty
pretty
crazy.
sick.
Yeah.
And Shawn was the referee, and Randy Orton as well. That was sick. Um, what do you think? Is there anybody that's not in this match that you would like to have seen in this match?
So let's just go off of the what do you call it? The qualifying matches. Had I the book, if I'm the one calling the shots, I honestly would have had Rey Mysterio beat Logan Paul, though this is honestly probably the best way to go. Logan's the biggest heel in the company. You want five other guys to beat the shit out of him in a fucking cage. I get it. He was hilarious the last time he was in the Elimination Chamber.
Mhm.
The stuff he did in that match is gold. I'm not gonna crap on Logan Paul being in there. From a selfish standpoint, I wanted to see Ray in there. Because how many more times am I going to get a chance to see Rey Mysterio?
Mhm.
That's it. Logan Paul being in there makes sense though. The one thing I'm not going to crap on it, but the one thing I will definitely say I would have changed, I would have put Jacob Fatu in there instead of Damian Priest.
So I originally was on that same mind frame, and now I'm glad that he's not in the chamber match.
Because of the story that you might be getting with him in solo or
No, I don't think that he needs to be in this match because I don't think it benefits him at all. So
oh
like
man, I almost I don't know. I can't agree with you on that just because I think it would be a clinic in violence for him to show
and
what he can do to five other men when
but
they can't go anywhere. You know what I mean?
we've already seen that though. We know what he can do, but
Yeah,
he's not gonna win this match. He's going to lose this match. And
I'd be
that
okay with him
as
winning though.
as
Him,
far
him and him
as
and Cody, I'd be cool with.
Yeah, I think it's too soon for that though.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
I think that I don't think, as far as I know, Jacob Fatu has never taken a pinfall or a submission loss
I
on
didn't, I
television.
didn't, I didn't see that triple threat match. How Damian pinned Braun,
Strowman,
right?
yeah.
Okay, yeah,
So
that makes sense.
as far as
Which
I
is the
know,
only reason they made it a triple threat was to protect
100%,
Fatu. Yeah,
100%, right? So why have him just eat a loss in the chamber that's gonna just get lost in the shuffle?
mm-hmm.
Like I just don't like. So what? Let's just say, okay, like if you look at the lineup, he'll pin Seth Rollins maybe, and then what? Like he's
So
not.
either he takes his very first pin in this match, or they do some weird thing where he ends up getting, I don't know.
You can. It's a chamber. There's no
Yeah.
disqualification. Like there's no way around it. Like anything else. So I just think that I think it's not the time for him to be in this match yet, and I don't think he needs to. It looks like they've started teasing him and Solo Sikoa, possibly for a WrestleMania match, which is a cool match.
Yeah.
There's no need for him to be in this match.
All right. You've sold me on that. Damian Priest, I'm just not. I have nothing against Damian Priest. Nothing against. He had an okay title run, and I mean okay in the nicest way possible. Um, I just don't. I'm not the biggest Damian Priest fan. He's just
Yeah,
okay to me. He's not. When I sit down and go, hey, let's see the greatest elimination chamber ever. Damian Priest is not the first person that comes to my mind.
I'm
But
not. I don't have anything against Damian Priest.
yeah,
He's just not a guy for me.
yeah.
I think he's great. He has great matches. He always delivers. He's just not a guy that I'm like, yeah, I want to see Damian Priest at my main event scene. But that being said, he's going to hold his own in there. He's got history with a lot of these guys in there, so it's going to be good.
This is what I do like about this match. There's a lot of history in this match in total. I
100%.
mean, look at Seth alone. Seth has history with every single person in this match.
Hmm.
And Seth has had feuds, like blood feuds with pretty much every person he's going up against. This is Seth to lose. Like Seth, he's got five other guys ready to come and kill him here. I love that. Then you have, Cena and Punk and Drew. This is great stuff.
Punk and
Drew,
Seth.
I don't want anybody to sleep on the fact that Drew is in contention for Mr. fucking Elimination Chamber. people forget how many elimination chambers that man has been in and has done well in. I'm going through the process of making an elimination chamber list. I'm watching every elimination chamber from the beginning, and the Drew is in, and only starting in 2010, the pay-per-view versions. Um, Drew was in the first like four of them. You know what I mean? Back when he was still the chosen one. Drew can go, man. And if he could go 15 years ago, his abilities have multiplied by 100 since then. He's a dangerous man in an elimination chamber. And as a fan, we're going to get a hell of a show from him in this year's version, I think.
For sure. He's definitely one of the unsung heroes of the WWE over the last since the pandemic era, in
Is
all honesty.
can I jump off on a side trail here for a second?
Sure.
Is Drew McIntyre to you? Is he one of the most returning or most surprising comeback stories of all time to you? Like he's a
Mm,
man that was kind of written off at some point, and he was supposed to be the chosen one. He was supposed to be this great thing. They didn't end up cashing in on that. Before you know it, he's in the one man or the three-man band, basically a jobber stable. Then he disappears and he does what people like Cody have been able to do, and people like Christian was able to do at one point. He went to a different promotion, rebuilt himself. Drew Galloway got over all over the world. He comes back and now he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. You couldn't say that 10 years ago. You know what I mean?
Drew might have been the first
Drew
guy to do it.
McIntyre's comeback has been one of the most impressive things I've ever seen.
I think Drew set the blueprint for leaving and reinventing yourself and coming back.
That might
Chris,
be Christian for me.
Christian was the first guy to choose to leave, but
Yeah.
Christian never changed anything. And when he came back to the WWE, he made less of an impact than he did before. Well, not less, but he won the world
No,
title. Let me take
he
that
won the
back.
world title and
He
all,
didn't make
and
less of an impact, but like he was the same. He
yeah,
never went higher,
he did it in the
right?
wrong era too. Because when he came back, they still wouldn't recognize the fact that he was an NWA champion. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um,
So
in this
Christian
day,
was.
in this time and day, if he came back from that, oh, there's former NWA champion Christian. You know what I
Well, and
mean?
Vince
He would
also
be
just
doing
didn't
that.
like Christian.
True enough. You're
Like,
not wrong.
you've heard the stories about his return,
Yeah,
and they're like, it's Christian, like told to
yeah,
underplay. Like, Vince didn't like him, but Christian was the first guy to leave and be like, I want a better spot in a different company. But Drew McIntyre made the blueprint on how to reinvent yourself and come back to the company. Christian
yeah.
didn't leave the WWE because he wanted to go back to the WWE. He left the WWE because he thought that he was better than what they were giving him.
Not exactly what I heard. Like when they used to do the ENC podcast, he always said he felt he was going to come back. He just needed
I
to.
think he knew he would come back, but he
Yeah,
didn't he didn't he could have stayed with the WWE. He just
but
didn't
but
like his position.
but I think he was smart enough to know if I keep on the track I'm going here, they're never going to take me seriously. I
Mhm.
need to go do my own thing, prove what I can do, and come back. And that's what he did.
Yeah, but he didn't like he was in the same spot. Like he was always the high end
Yes.
mid card heel, right?
Yeah.
Whereas Drew was the chosen one. Then he was the three-man band. Then he went to the indie scenes, dropped all of that stuff,
Yeah.
reinvented his whole
You
character,
anybody
got
anybody who
into
hasn't seen
got into incredible shape, much better
yeah,
shape than he was in on the main
than he's
roster,
ever,
added,
yeah.
right? And then reinvented his whole character, changed everything about his look, his persona, everything, and then came back and made a huge impact.
Anybody who hasn't really seen Drew's work outside WWE, there's something to be said about his TNA work. It was good. But if you really want to see some great matches, go see Drew Galloway's matches on ICW.
Mhm.
His stuff out in Scotland was fucking second to none. I was almost disappointed when WWE signed him back because I knew I wouldn't get him in ICW anymore. That was when I was watching ICW every week. Like he was doing crazy good matches over there. Anyone who hasn't seen any of those matches and you're interested, go check those out. They're out there somewhere.
So $1 million question then, Mike.
Yeah,
Who is winning the men's elimination chamber match?
I got to go with John Cena.
It has to be,
Um,
right?
No, it doesn't have to because you're so stacked, and there's a way to get John on WrestleMania and still have John be Mr. WrestleMania. There's always a way to do that. John can lose. John is Teflon. John can lose and pop right back. He always does. He always can. You can't hurt John. So, can he lose this? Yes, he can. Will he lose this? I don't think so. I don't think you need to have him lose this.
What's the
The only
biggest
problem with that is if he wins, what do you do with some of the other guys? I just don't know what you do with CM Punk if CM
well,
Punk loses this.
you have Roman and Seth, triple threat.
Yeah, I guess.
All right. Punk kind of feels like the odd man out there. I'd kind of like to see just Seth, and you could
Me too.
also, there's
I
also a
want
lot
to
of
see
talk.
either Roman and Punk or Roman and Seth. I have no interest in all three.
There's also been talk about having a triple threat for the title with Cody, Punk, and Cena as well.
Now, I have been very open on my thoughts in the past about triple threat matches at WrestleMania. I've never been a fan. I don't. I think that title is so sacred and so important at WrestleMania that it should be between two guys. And I know that's a stupid thing to say about a scripted sport, but that's always how I felt. In this case, I would be so down for a triple threat match. Um, Cena, Cody, and Punk. That that's a license to make money right
Also,
there.
not to mention, and correct me if I'm wrong, but there has only been two triple threat matches that have ever closed out a WrestleMania for the world title, and
Yes, you're
they're
right.
two of the best main events in the history of WrestleManias.
You're not wrong.
So, do we want to see Punk, Cena, and Cody? Is it a bigger match with just Cena and Cody? Is it a bigger
I
match with just Cody and Punk?
Cody and Punk would be fucking phenomenal. Um, okay, if Cena's going to be in the match, I want to see a triple threat. If Cena's not going to be a match, I want to see Punk and Cody.
So if Cena
It's
doesn't win the Elimination Chamber and is not involved with Cody at all, what do you do with him?
what do you do with Cena? Um,
There's nothing.
no, there's. I mean, there will be something. Triple H knows something we don't, but yeah, I don't know. I'm sticking with my prediction. I think Cena wins. Not to mention like he's not going to win every match on this tour. I don't because I was just about to say you know it's his last time in Toronto. They're going to give us the feel good, but they can't do that for every city.
We didn't get
He's
it at
not
the
going
Royal
to
Rumble either.
exactly. So I don't know. Maybe it's just my greed speaking. I want him to win because I want my 6 year old John Cena fan beside me to be happy and cheering and everything. But especially since he's not going to get a lot of the other people he wants to see. But yeah, everything points towards John. Everything that makes sense points towards John winning.
I think that Cena versus Cody is the biggest match that they can make, very closely behind Punk and Cody. I do think that CM Punk will be in a triple threat at WrestleMania this year, but we just don't know against who.
That yeah, that's a good call. I think you're right on that one.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time. You know, the WWE always delivers, and I'm excited for this one. It's going to be, and then, if you've got time and you're down in the area, Smash Wrestling has a show
Yeah,
literally right across the street from,
yeah,
it's like literally like a 45-second walk
yes,
from the
from the
Rogers
stadium.
Center.
Yeah.
And they just announced that Jinder Mahal is going to be on the card taking on Psycho Mike, and that Cassie Lee, formerly known as Peyton Royce, is going to be
Hmm.
on the card taking on
Yeah.
Alexia Nicole.
Awesome match.
Then you've got all your Smash Wrestling regulars, like from the Toronto scene, Jax Williams, Von Vertigo, Jody Threat, I think is on the card, but I don't know
Is
that
she?
100%. But yeah, it's going to be a great time. I think it's
I haven't
about
been to a Smash show in quite a long time, but Smash always puts on great shows.
Yeah,
Uh,
my brother and I went to a Smash show at the same venue. It's at the Rec Room for anybody wondering. My brother and I went to one before AEW's Forbidden Door show.
yeah,
They were supposed to have Juventud Guerrera, but his flight was delayed, so he didn't end up making it, which sucked because I was so pumped to meet Hoovy. But they had the Bollywood Boys there. They had Psycho Mike there. It was a fun show. We caught the tail end of it. It was a great show.
Yeah, Smash is always a good time. Um, I'm still on the fence. I might even pop into the show. I'm not sure yet. I
Yeah,
don't
I'm
know if my
debating.
I don't know if my son can handle two wrestling shows in a day.
I
I
mean,
think I
I'm
might be
getting old. I don't
that
know if
that
I can.
that might be overload. That might be overstimulation. We'll see. I Because the last thing I want is that poor kid falling asleep during the main event when his favorite wrestler in the world is about to win, and he's like, "Can't do it."
That's so funny.
You know?
Yeah, it's gonna be a long day for him. It's gonna be a big day though. It's gonna be a fun time.
Yeah,
You guys are gonna
it's
have a
good.
good time.
I can't wait. I was on I had this fear that I was more excited than he was, but that's not true because every morning he grabs me before school. Dad, let's go mark my calendar. I've got this WWE calendar in his room, and he marks every single day, and he counts the days until Elimination Chamber, and he reminds me that I promised him he's got this piggy bank, and he earns money for his piggy bank by doing chores. And right now, I'm bribing him to eat food because he's extremely picky, and every time he eats a food that he either hates or a new food that he's afraid to try, I pay him for it. I have to bribe my kids. Anyone who's not a parent and is judging me right now, go fuck yourself. Sometimes to get your kids to eat healthy, that's what you got to do. So that's what I'm doing. I'm getting putting money in his bank, and I told him, I said, listen, you have 2 weeks until Elimination Chamber. If you get good reports coming home from school every day for 2 weeks, if all behavior is good, I'm going to take that money upstairs and I'm going to double it. I said, I'm going to give you more money to spend whatever you want in the Elimination Chamber. So with the money he's got plus the money I'll give him, he might be able to afford half of a t-shirt.
I was gonna say, yeah. And if he doesn't eat all of his food that he's supposed to eat, then he has to be locked in the chamber with Jacob Fatu.
Yeah, there you go.
So it's
We
a
I recently bought 2K24 for the
Mhm.
PlayStation, and he and I were playing it yesterday, and he goes, "Dad, can we do Elimination Chamber on here?" I said, "Yeah, we can." So we set up the Elimination Chamber as close as we could because I haven't unlocked CM Punk yet. But we got almost everybody else in there, and we're playing, and he stops. I said, "What's going on?" He goes, "This is going to be the best match ever, Dad." I'm like, man, I'm so excited.
Yeah, that's gonna be fun.
All right, what else do you got there, bud?
Not much. We could talk a little about the rumors of Josh Alexander going to AEW if you want.
Uh, I'm so torn about this on how I feel. I want nothing but good things for Josh, okay? I want all the good things for Josh. I want Josh to be happy. I want Josh to be successful. There's nobody on this planet in this business that I want better things for than Josh Alexander. But Tyler, I'm a selfish boy. I'm a selfish boy. And I don't watch AEW. I mean, I'm gonna have to try to start. This is what happened years ago. It was like 2014 or 15 when I was off TNA. Like this is shortly after the Hogan era destroyed TNA, and I refused to watch it. But local boy, Crazy Steve got signed, and I got excited because I love Steve. I knew him personally at some point. He's literally local. He's from Angus, Ontario, which is right beside Barrie. I love the guy. So I'm like, if he got signed, I'm going to start watching TNA. That lasted 3 weeks and I couldn't do it anymore. You know what I mean?
Well, you have the beautiful option of living in a world of social media where you could just watch a match instead of the whole show.
Yeah. Yeah. But with that said, right now, these are rumors. Dave Meltzer has said that both companies have made him offers and that Josh has chosen where he's going and has not announced it, but he chose it based on he basically took the highest bidder, the company that gave him the bigger number. Dave says he believes, and Dave did not confirm this. Dave did not say, I know he's going to AEW. He said, I am on a strong belief that he chose AEW. If he took the bigger payday, I also believe that he's going to AEW. Is it because I don't think the WWE could pay him more? No, they could if they want him. If they wanted him more than AEW, they could pay him more than AEW. But AEW is probably wants him more. They probably need him more. WWE, they're they're a business. They're not going to be like, hey, Josh, it's not going to be a bidding war. They're going to be like, here, Josh, this is what we offer people to come in NXT. If you don't like that, maybe we'll see you in a couple of years when your AEW contract expires. They're not going to chase them. They're not going. They don't. They're not going to beg them. They don't need to. AEW, on the other hand, needs all the stars they can get right now. So if Josh is that important to them, they're going to throw money at him.
I don't
Who
know if
should
I
who
fully
should
agree with that.
who should Josh pick? Josh has to do what's right for his family. And if taking the bigger payday is what's right for his family, all the power to him. Which one do you agree with?
I don't think that it's fair to say AEW doesn't have any star power. I think they have a lot of star power. They're just not utilizing it properly. Um, I don't think AEW needs Josh like you're saying they do. I think that the one thing I do agree with what you say though is that I think Josh needs to do what is best for his family. Josh has been doing this a long time. He's got a lot of miles on his body.
Mm-hmm.
He's not a spring chicken. Not that he's old by any means when I say this. He's not old at all, but this could be the biggest contract that he will sign. And I think that it's smart to take the money in this situation.
Yes. Yeah.
No matter where he goes between AEW or WWE, he's going to have phenomenal matches.
Mm-hmm.
It's just about what he's looking for in that regards. Now, when you take the family part out of the equation, if you're looking at it strictly from what can I get done inside of the ring, I think AEW might be the better fit for him. I think
Also,
that
it's all I think it's about longevity as well. How long does Josh think he has left?
Mhm.
Does Josh
Yeah,
think he has 5 years left? Does he think he have 10 years left? Does he think he have more? If he goes to AEW, he can fight his way to that top spot a lot faster than he can in WWE.
yeah.
You know
I
what I mean?
mean, like I could see Josh becoming an NXT heavyweight champion for sure.
For sure.
I don't
I
know.
could see him being a WWE champion, but it's not going to be in the next 4 or 5 years.
I don't know if Josh would even get the chance to get on the main roster with just how things are moving and how like NXT needs him more
Oh,
than NXT. He's talented enough for the main roster. That
yeah,
doesn't mean he'll
but
get there.
I think he will be on the main if he goes to WWE. He will be on the main roster, but not for. I think they give him 2 years in NXT first.
I think you could build NXT around Josh Alexander for sure. I
Yeah,
think I think he would be the guy there, and I think he would be like Adam Cole. I think he would have an Adam Cole run in
is it?
NXT.
This is a little side tangent here, but is it looking like Jordan Grace is on NXT?
Yeah, she's
Yeah.
debuted on NXT.
Are you surprised by that?
A little bit, but I mean, they have plans.
I
It's
don't hate
not.
it. I don't hate it. I'm just
I
a
get it
tad
right
surprised.
now. I get it right now because this is a terrible time to bring anybody up to the main roster because it's
Sure.
WrestleMania season and everybody's
Yeah.
spoken for, right? Like you
Yeah.
bring Jordan Grace up right now, what are
What
you
do you
gonna
do with
do?
her?
Unless you have her win the
The only
Elimination
thing I
Chamber.
no, the only thing I was thinking they were going to do with her, I thought they were going to have her as a friend of Cora Jade's, and have her in a tag situation with her and Cora Jade versus whoever attacked Cora,
Yeah, I mean,
or,
you'd have to
or
find that
have her
connection.
as Cora's attacker.
Yeah. You want to turn her heel though already?
I don't. I'm just spitballing here.
I
Yeah.
think I think that you bring her into the main roster and have her win the Elimination Chamber, or have her have a strong showing in the Chamber and not have a Mania match.
Can I? I just thought of something. How funny would it be if it turns out that it was Naomi that team that did this to Cora Jade? When Naomi is the daughter-in-law of Rikishi.
Because she did it for Bianca.
I did it for my father-in-law.
Oh my God.
Oh
But
man.
the just to go back to Josh for a sec, I think a big thing that would favor him in AEW as well, though, is their relationship with New Japan Pro Wrestling. I know that's something he really likes. I know he
Yeah.
definitely would love to do a G1 tournament. You know what I mean? So the door's open for that stuff there for him. But
Also, before it gets too late and he can't do it anymore, Josh versus Dragon. Give it to me all day long.
Josh versus Kenny Omega.
Yeah.
Josh, like the matches I think are more intriguing. Like as a wrestling fan, I'm more
Yeah.
intrigued by him having matches with the AEW roster.
Mhm.
But also as a wrestling fan, I think he would have a better run in NXT. But
Yeah, I think
I'm just happy.
I think his career would probably benefit better from being on the WWE side, but you're not wrong. We'll probably get better matches from the AEW side. We just mentioned two just off the top of our heads, but then you got, you know, him and he'd tell some really good stories with Chris Jericho. He'd tell some really good stories with Ed or Cope, fucking Cope. Oh, I feel
No,
dirty when I say that.
he's not
Um,
he's never coped to me.
he he'll tell great stories with Hangman. He'll do
Swerve Strickland,
he could do great stuff with MFJ. You know what I mean? So
MJF,
or MJF, sorry. Who the hell is MFJ? With MJF.
hot new
Um,
prospect.
he can work with, I'd say, anybody on that roster. He
I think
really can.
the best thing about this before we get into your list is that we're having this conversation. Josh Alexander is getting
Yes,
his flowers, and I am very
yes.
excited to
The
see
fact
what.
that the fact that right now Josh really is the prettiest girl at the prom. Everybody wants to date him. It's just he is in a power position of getting to go wherever he wants to go. And I could not be prouder of Josh for being in that position. Not
Yeah.
everybody gets that. You know what I mean?
And if you want to hear some of Josh Alexander's thoughts leading into free agency, then head into the archives and check out the sit down interview I got to do with him before his last Ontario independent match. Well, what do you think, Mike? Is it time to get to a list?
It is. All right, let me dance around this first. I want to talk about why I want to do this list. One of the most important pieces of the dance, one of the most important brushstrokes of the art that is professional wrestling is the art of selling. I think if you are not a great seller, if you're not even a good seller, you have no business being in the ring. This is what professional wrestling is. It's not about, this is not MMA. You're not really trying to hurt people and you're not trying to get hurt. It's all an art form, and you want to make the other person look as good as you possibly can. And that's what this list is all about. This came about because I was working on my list of the greatest heels of all time, and as I'm working on that list, I kept saying to myself, "Man, this guy is a seller. This guy could sell to a rock and get that rock over." You know what I mean? And then just turned into this. The list just turned into the greatest sellers of all time. I'm just like, I have to do this list because I don't think people selling is so good that you forget it's part of the show. You sometimes I'll sit there going, that guy's hurt. Like that guy's like what's going on right now? He's not hurt. He's selling. Selling can make or break a match. And selling gets two things done. It gets your opponent over, but it can also get you over. It can get the match over. It can get the story over. And that's what selling does. It has to get all these things to the top. And I think there are a small handful, maybe 20, 30 guys in the history of the sport that were phenomenal at it. And today we're going to talk about the best 7 of those 30.
And if anybody wants any pointers on how to sell, then you just watch the archives and count it out because I've been selling that Mike does great lists for 4 years, coming on 5 years now.
I thought you were the same. Hey, anybody see the time that I got hit at the Christmas show?
Oh yeah, I did. I sold that like a million. Ricky Morton
Or
Jr., buddy.
fuck, what was his name? I'm blanking. Friend of the show. I'm blanking on his name.
I don't know.
The guy who fought Albright that night and attacked you.
Oh, Corey Stone.
Corey Stone. Thank you so much. Great guy. Love me some Corey Stone. But anybody who hasn't seen that, the clip's on YouTube or something somewhere out there.
I was
Uh,
violently assaulted.
it was in very early days of counting out being at the Barry shows and
That was like our third show ever.
yeah. And we had it in, man. We pitched to Sean Gibson that man, we'd love to be involved somehow. It's like we have this table, it's ours. You can use it. And they did. And Tori took some liberties, man.
Wait, you pitched that to everybody because
No.
I was just violently assaulted, Mike. I had no idea that that was coming. I was violently assaulted.
My favorite, I'm breaking kayfabe here. My favorite part is he comes over, he goes, can I hit one of you guys? And we're both like, yeah. He looks at me, he looks like you, he goes, I won't hit a guy with glasses. It's you.
Well, yeah, I said because he came over and he basically said I said, listen, our table's fair game. You're not going to break anything on top of our table if you want to
Yeah.
like throw
Yeah.
everything off or whatever.
All we have was t-shirts and business cards. Go for it.
Yeah, I said, and if like he's like, do you mind if I like maybe push one of you guys? And I was like, yeah, I mean, if you want to push him because he's bigger, and I'll just powder away. Like, he's like, no, he's wearing glasses. I think I'll just push you. I was like, okay, well, and I went flying. Yeah,
And it couldn't have happened at a better show either because this is during the heart of the pandemic, guys. Like the pandemic was in full force, and I hadn't seen any friends other than Tyler in a very long time. And a group of my best friends from back home surprised me, didn't tell me they were doing this. They traveled all the way to Barrie to come to this show. And that included the late great Jameser.
yeah. I believe Adam was there as well. Correct
No,
me
he
if I'm
wasn't.
wrong.
No,
Wasn't
Adam
Adam?
wasn't there.
I
No,
thought that was the first time I met Adam.
no, Ray was there though.
Oh, Ray, that's right.
Yeah. Known professional wrestler from the Northland Wrestling, Ray Beauchamp. He was there, and some of my boys just from that area. They surprised me. So to have them in the crowd to see that spot, and people would actually come to us later, going, "Are you guys okay? Like they fucked up your table." Like,
Yeah. I still
loved it. Loved it.
I have a piece of that table still with both of them that they
Oh
have
yeah,
signed.
me too. Somewhere it's in storage somewhere that it's signed, and yeah, loved it.
Yeah, it was
All right,
fun.
but let's talk about sellers. Do you have anything to say about the art of the sell? Like, or do you feel as passionate of the art of the sell as I do?
I do. I think it's the most important part of wrestling. I think selling makes money. You know how they say defense wins championships in
Mm-hmm.
sports? I think selling draws money in wrestling. Um, And I think there's multiple ways that you can sell. Like I
Yes.
think I don't even think it has to be in a match, like selling a promo.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll give an example, and I'm sure we'll probably talk about it. Maybe we will, maybe we won't, but Triple H when he sold Mick Foley's pro Return of Cactus Jack, the way he
Yeah.
sold that promo made Cactus Jack. So I just think that it's not just in ring. That's how I look at it. It's how are you selling, Dusty Rhodes when he would cut promos. He
Are you
would
telling a story? Yeah.
he was exactly, you see Tommy Dreamer cuts promos and he's in tears. Like that's
Mm-hmm.
selling to me as well.
Agreed. My number seven, I think I'm gonna get some heat for, and maybe not from you, but from the listeners. And I need you to just give me a second here to explain myself. Because when you hear the name, the very first thing that's come to your head is going to be he squashes guys, he tramples guys, he
I
buries
already know who you're
guys,
talking about, and if he was on your list, we would have a problem.
but he doesn't. Watch Brock Lesnar in any of his matches with Cody, with Seth Rollins, with Goldberg, for Christ's sake. Watch these matches, and you tell me that Brock Lesnar is not a phenomenal seller. If Kurt Angle himself has gone on the, I believe it was the Stone Cold show, and said that if Brock likes you, Brock will sell the world for you. And Brock Lesnar will do that. You see Bryan Danielson. Look at the matches with Bryan Danielson or Daniel Bryan at that point. When Bryan will get him in an armbar, he sells the shit out of that armbar. When he went to put that one match, I can't remember exactly which show it was, but he puts Daniel up up for the F5. He hits the F5, but then he sells the leg buckle. You know what I mean? Look at his facial expressions. Everything he does has purpose. Yes, he squashes guys. He kills guys. Yes, he does. but watch everything else he does in those matches.
100%.
He sold those spears from Goldberg. One of my favorite. I'm going to steal this line. This is not a line I came up with. Another journalist said this once, but he said that he sold those spears like he just gave birth 8 times in the ring.
Yeah, I
Like,
couldn't agree with you more. I think Brock Lesnar is a phenomenal seller, and he's a convincing seller because he makes you work for it.
mhm,
It's like Angle said, he's not just going to sell for you because it's a wrestling match. You need to work for it. You need to beat
yeah.
him down. The triple threat match that we talked about a couple weeks ago on the show with Seth, Cena, and Brock. When
Mhm.
Seth hit that elbow drop to Brock, the way that he sold his ribs, like you thought his ribs were cracked.
Yeah.
I would the only heat that I'm going to give you is that he's not maybe a little lower on your list depending on who else you have on here.
Yep, and that's a fair argument. We'll see how you feel when the other 6 are announced, but that's a fair argument because he is one of the greatest sellers of all time and 100% deserves to be in the top 7 at the very least. Um, my number 6 is the man we just discussed being in the same ring as him, and that's the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson.
Yep.
You watch anything he does. And, because of his size, I guess he's always thought of as the underdog, whatever. And underdogs can be great sellers. They can be. Oh, it's almost like if you're smaller, you have to be a great seller. But Bryan Danielson makes you forget that he's the smaller man in the ring. His selling makes you believe, on one hand, that he's 7 foot, 300 pounds, or he makes you believe that he's about to die, that there's no effing way that he can get up from what just happened to him. He's great on both ends of the spectrum. Again, just like this, you're going to hear this phrase a lot through this list, but I said it with Brock Lesnar: facial expressions.
Uh-huh.
You look at his facial expressions when he's down, especially when he's in submission maneuvers or stuff like that, or giving submission maneuvers. Sometimes, especially if he's got one on Brock Lesnar or somebody much bigger than him, look at his facial expressions because, yeah, he's on top right now, but is it easy for him? Is it an easy thing to hold the label lock on a monster? No, look at his facial expressions are telling the story of this is hard. This is really, really difficult, but I'm doing it and I'm pulling it off.
He put on a great clinic of selling in Wembley Stadium against Swerve
Mm-hmm.
Strickland. But he
Mm-hmm.
does these little things. Like I saw a clip actually just today while I was doing some prep before we started recording. There was a match that he was in and he was selling his ribs and he would just started firing up on offense. And
Yeah.
he does that spot where he throws you into the buckle and then he runs and hits the buckle and then does the drop kicks. Well, he threw a
Yeah.
guy in the buckle, ran and hit the buckle, and then dropped to his knees because he was selling his ribs that had been worked on the whole match. Like
Yes.
little things like that go a long way.
I agree.
And depending on how
And
you shape your criteria to this list, you could argue him to be number one. Because like there are different layers of selling. They're selling like an entire match. They're selling moves. They're selling emotions. Like if you're
yes.
going with selling from bell to bell of like I've had my arm worked on and like I believe it, I put him at a number one. But I mean I think there are people that sell individual moves better. Like it just
Mhm.
there's a whole criteria. It's a whole lot to work with in this department.
I'm so happy you said that phrase you just said where all the little things count. Because my number 5 is a master of those little things. All the little things, all the little nuances. He's very old school because we're going old school for my number 5. This man made a career of putting over the heels. This man made all the heels in the WWF look like monsters without ruining his own reputation, which is very, very difficult. And we're going to Mr. Ricky Steamboat.
Okay, yeah.
I think you go watch Steamboat versus anybody, but especially watch his matches with Savage, 100%. All his matches with Savage, his matches with Flair. That man could sell, sell, sell. You believed everything he did in the ring.
Hmm.
I once watched an interview with him, And it was interesting. He talked about how he learned how to sell. Do you know he used to study tapes of boxing matches to see how when they got hit, how their necks would snap back, and he would emulate that.
Huh.
He would just study those tapes and emulate the way that the neck would snap back. Now with that knowledge, go watch a Ricky Steamboat match and watch when he gets into like when the heel gets him into the corner and hits him with the shots. Watch his neck always snapping back. He was a like I don't know if you could talk about anybody, be it Triple H, be it Brian Pillman, anybody of being a student of the game more than Ricky Steamboat. Ricky Steamboat did his homework
Yeah.
every single week.
I mean, I don't have a problem with him being on this list at all. He's the typical white meat babyface. Like he is the
Mhm.
guy that you want to sell for you. Yeah, I'm in with this.
Then we go to the other side. You have your great baby face seller. You need your great heel seller, right? And this man did it all. This man could do it every single week. He, I'm going to say he made selling look perfect. We're going to Kurt Hennig, Mr. Perfect, for my number four.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. You talk about a guy that does all the little things, like absolutely. Mr. Perfect made every babyface look stronger. Look at his match at WrestleMania
100%.
7 against the Big Boss Man. Look
Yeah.
at Hogan. He used to bump like crazy for Hogan.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime anyone would kick his leg, like Bret Hart, he did those backflips for Bret.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, man, perfect. Perfect could do it all.
And there's something to be said about, and we might talk about a certain guy, a couple of guys still on this list. There's something to be said about the oversell. Some people can do the oversell and still make it look credible.
Mhm.
Mr. Perfect, I think, is in that category. Uh, Perfect, I wouldn't sell. He wasn't a crazy overseller, but he oversold just enough to get you over without making himself look bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, well, pun intended. He was perfect at that. Nobody did it better than him because he made it credible every
Mhm.
single time.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't have a problem with this at all.
And there's a man who probably had a hand in teaching him that stuff, and that man might be my number three. I don't think you get a better heel seller in the whole world than Ric Flair.
Okay. Um, Flair doesn't make my list.
A weird feeling we were going to have this discussion, but I want everyone to realize, I think, how important Rick's selling was to the era of wrestling he was doing. Rick's job was to go city to city every week, sell that city, the fact that when he comes back to that city, they need that rematch.
Mhm.
He had to make that face look so good without losing. Rick never lost, but he goes into that city, loses, beats that face, but make sure that they want to pay money to see that match again when he comes back on the circuit. How did he do that?
See,
With
now
selling.
I don't agree with that either. I think that he did that by being a phenomenal worker. I don't think his selling is what did that though. Now Flair was great. Flair was great. Now I'm not saying that Flair's not a good seller. I really do think that Flair's a great
And
seller.
I, and I don't
But
want people just thinking, oh, you're just talking about the flop and no,
but that's what he's
his.
known for.
But yes, that's what he's known
Flair's
for.
selling is a lot more comical selling than reality-based selling.
Look the way he could take a punch, the way that he sold every single time somebody reversed the figure four on him, the way he sold it. You know what I mean?
I just think that there are better sellers than Flair. I think
Okay.
Flair, as an all-around worker, I agree with what you said about having to go from town to town, never win or never lose,
And
and
that
have to come back and draw again. I think that goes to him as a complete package worker. And
and
his
then let's
selling
go back.
his selling's good, but again, when you look at a guy like Brock and Dragon and Steamboat and Perfect, those guys are selling in a different way than Flair. They're selling and
Exactly. There are different ways to sell, and that's kind of my point here. But I want to go back to something that you said before I started the list. When you said selling is more than just, selling that you're hurt, or
Mhm.
selling's the full package, including your promos and including pushing the story and stuff like that. Rick was second to none for several years when it came to that.
He's a great promo, absolutely. But his promos are a different type of emotion. They're not, to me, they're not the selling type of emotion, like
Hmm.
that Triple H promo, like that hard time promo.
Yeah.
Like Flair's not selling in his promos. He's telling you how much better he is than you in his promos. He's
I don't
telling
know, man.
you, I'm rich. He's telling you,
Tear in my eye, man. I don't
tear in
know.
my eye, it's the greatest moment of my life. It's a great promo,
Yeah.
absolutely. But again, for me, for what I'm looking for on this criteria of a list,
Yeah.
a guy like Flair and a guy like, I'm going to say it and unpopular opinion, a guy like Rick Rude, they're not
Mhm.
making my list, not because they're not phenomenal sellers, but because I'm looking at it from more of a reality-based standpoint than a Flair flop, beg off. Like, I love Flair selling. I'm highly entertained by it. Ric Flair is one of my favorite in-ring wrestlers of all time. But I'm just I got to take my bias for what I love for Flair out, and just looking at the way that this list is shaped, and a
Yep.
lot of people that are will not be named on this list. I got to take Flair out of the equation for the selling.
I respect that. I don't agree with you, but I respect it. It's going to be interesting. I want to see how you feel about my number two and one, and then talk about some honorable mentions and the people who didn't make the list, because I think we're about to have an interesting discussion. I'm intrigued. Um, just like I said, Mr. Perfect probably learned a lot about that from Ric Flair. So did my number two. Uh, I think Shawn Michaels modeled himself very much around Ric Flair, Tully Blanchard, and those kind of characters, and then just multiplied it by 1,000, and then when did his own thing.
Mhm.
People think of Shawn Michaels, and right away they think of that match in '05 against Hulk Hogan. Yeah, that was something, that was a circus, but you can't base his selling skills on something like that. What I love about Shawn is I've always said Shawn had two careers. And with two careers comes two psychologies, two methods, two art forms. You look at Shawn's style of selling from 86 to 98, and then you look at his selling from 2000, what was it, two, until WrestleMania 26, two very different forms of selling. The overly charismatic, um, uh, super bumping and stuff like that. You saw from that egomaniacal version of Shawn Michaels. You saw it all the time. He'd hit the mat and he'd do the flippy dippies, and he'd fly all over the place. You saw that all the time, but he made it credible. He made it entertaining. Nobody ever said, "Oh, Shawn's going into business for himself." Shawn looked great doing it. When he comes back for the second half of his career, his selling was more emotional. Everything was, man, is Shawn going to get back up from this? Is Shawn going to be able to keep doing this? Not because he looked old and fragile, because he sold it like everything hurts. Not physically, but I am battling for my life every day, and he sold that. Um, that makes Shawn, in my mind, the second greatest seller of all time.
Fair.
Thoughts?
I would have him in the top three, I think. I think
Mm-hmm.
he's a top three seller. Absolutely. I know people are
Have,
like people will, point out that Hulk Hogan match as, but I mean one match
I
doesn't
mean,
take
he even made that entertaining, though.
one match and one match doesn't take away years. Like if you want to
No,
see a Shawn Michaels selling clinic, just watch him work the Undertaker.
exactly.
Yeah,
What's your
I
what's your favorite? I have a certain favorite. What's your favorite signature Shawn Michaels spot that you, back in the day, especially in the first half of his career, that
uh
you always knew he was going to do?
first half or overall?
Oh, whatever. Overall,
Oh, the
but
nip up,
the one
man.
I'm thinking of comes from his first. Hmm?
The nip up for me
The nip
is
up, 100%. Yes. For me, I love when you'd whip him into the turnbuckle and he would flip over in the
yeah.
turnbuckle. I
Yeah.
always love that
But
spot.
he wouldn't do the flare flop. He would like hook it and then backflip back in the ring and then
Yes.
take a big shot and do a spiral.
Yeah, love that. He was so good, man. Sean, in my mind, greatest performer of all time.
I'm interested to hear who your number one is. I think I know who it is. I know who it should be, in my opinion. But I
I'm
that
I'm on the fence because of a couple of names you've already mentioned that are not on my list. I'm on the fence of who I think is your number one. But I'm going to stand by my number one. I think my number one is I said Steamboat's like one of the greatest babyface sellers of all time. This man is the greatest babyface seller of all time. He's the greatest seller of all time. I never, ever, ever, ever once swayed from Bret Hart being my number one.
yeah, that's what I agree with as well. And if
Okay.
anyone has any questions about that, watch King of the Ring 93.
Watch anything. Watch anything. That man sold for doink. Okay. This is all I'm gonna say. This man went in the ring and put it on the line every single week against anybody he went up against. And this is during an era, like part of his career, a small part, but a part of his career was when every other person on the roster had a day job. All right. He was facing guys like Doink the Clown and Duke the Dumpster Drosy and Teal Hopper, and he made them look good. Right? Bret Hart, some of the things he could do, he could run chest first into the belt into the turnbuckle and make it look like he broke 9 ribs.
Yep.
You know what I mean? By the way, that is one of my favorite Hitman spots of all time.
Yeah.
His chest bumps into the turnbuckle are things of legend. But I will say 100%, and this is part of selling, whether you think so or not. I consider this part of selling. He had the greatest work punches, I think, in the world.
I agree.
Nobody, you can talk about your Jerry Lawlers and other people, but I don't think anybody had a more believable punch that never hurt a soul than Bret Hart.
I'm with you. Bret is my number one.
Is Bret number one? Good.
Yes, but my number two is not even on your list, and I want to talk about why.
You mentioned Triple H. Is it
No.
Triple H? Okay.
No.
There's 3 people I thought I'd get heat for keeping off the list. I
Yeah.
want to know if it's any of these 3.
All right, name them.
Triple H didn't make my list.
No, he would not have made my list. He would have been just off of it.
Now, I thought I'd get heat, but you already mentioned it, so I'm glad I didn't get heat. Rick Rude, I thought I'd get heat for.
No, I'm fine with Rude not being on there.
Dolph Ziggler.
Nope, he's actually not on my list either. I need to know, Mike.
The Rock, really?
No, The Rock's not.
All right.
How do you make a list about the best sellers in professional wrestling?
Yeah.
And not put the man that all the professional wrestlers say is the best seller of all time on the list? How is Ricky Morton not on your list?
Didn't even occur to me. I've never heard anybody call Ricky Morton the greatest seller. I've never,
Average.
and I'm not being a dick. I've never heard that said. I've done research for this list. I've looked at other lists. I've looked at interviews. That name has never come up.
Ricky Morton is one of the greatest sellers in the history of professional wrestling.
I'm not going to dispute you. The Rock and Roll they were the greatest babyface tag team probably of all time. They were the Ricky Steamboat of tag teams. Did they ever turn heel?
Not as a team.
No,
Ricky did a heel turn.
Yeah, but never as a team, right?
I don't think they did a heel turn as a team.
When I think of, what wrestlers have never turned heel, Ricky comes to mind.
Yeah.
Ricky
Steamboat, right?
But as tag teams, what are the greatest tag teams that never turn heel? Because LOD turned heel at one point, and a bunch of teams have done the flip flop. Rock and Roll Express has never turned heel, so they are the quintessential babyface tag team. And Ricky Morton did the selling for that team. Nothing against Robert Gibson whatsoever.
No, that was the formula. Ricky sells, Robert hot tags.
Exactly. Yeah,
I like to me, like I'm taking Flair off of your list and I'm putting Ricky Morton on your list 100%.
okay. Now that's not a bad trade considering you have mangled some of my lists.
Mhm. I've got some other
I think
guys that
I've got a good list of what's it called? Honorable mentions here. But the fact that you only took one person off my
well,
list.
that's not to say that I might not make a couple other swaps as well, but I like they're harder. Like these ones could be more coin flips,
Who
right?
else on my list? Who else on my list other than Ric Flair? Who else does not deserve to be on the top seven?
I mean, everybody on this list deserves to be on the top seven. The problem is that you could make about three more top seven lists as well with some
Well,
people.
but it wouldn't be
Like
top seven. It wouldn't be.
to me, Ricky Steamboat, Tully Blanchard could go hand in hand. They're both phenomenal sellers in totally different ways. I think
I
Tully
have
Blanchard,
I have totally on my.
or
I
even with
mentioned.
Perfect as well, like Perfect and Tully Blanchard. I don't think he makes my list, but the hardest
No,
one to leave off the list is Randy Orton. Randy
I have Randy on
Orton,
there too.
Randy Orton is an incredible seller. I don't know if I put him on over Steamboat or Perfect though. Macho Man, I think deserves some consideration.
I didn't even really think about Macho, but you're not wrong. I wouldn't have put him on my list, but I should have at least put him on my honorable
Like
mentions.
just
Yeah,
watch him sell his leg
yeah,
against Flair anytime.
yeah.
100%. I would say Mick Foley, but I don't know if he was
No,
actually selling half the time
that
because
that
he was
that's the
dying.
thing. I Mick, there's an art, and I'm not taking anything away from Mick. Mick is an all-time great. I do not want anybody coming out of the show saying that Mike was talking shit about Mick Foley.
He's a better
There is
bump taker.
there if this was a bump taking list,
Number one.
number one, no problem. Mick Foley, I don't think was a phenomenal seller because when you're pushing a fucking tooth through your top lip, that's not selling. That's pushing a tooth through your top lip. Um, I don't. I think he just put himself into positions where he was forced to sell. That's all.
Dust,
Uh,
Dusty Rhodes for me also.
I
Very
want
strong consideration for selling.
funny thing. I didn't write down Dusty Rhodes, but I did write down Gold Dust.
Yeah, I mean, I think Dusty is watching him sell his leg too against the Horseman, and he goes hand in hand with that Triple H promo thing as well. We kind of talked about.
I've got three names here that maybe you even didn't really think of while doing some of my research. I got Sami Zayn.
Sammy's a great seller. Yeah,
I
sometimes
you
he's a
look
little.
look
He
look
can
at
be
the
a little
matches.
over the top with his selling
Yes, he can.
sometimes.
Yes, he can. But nobody does rubber legs better than Sammy.
No,
Nobody does rubber legs better than Sammy. Look at his match. His matches with Kevin during the NXT run, and just do you remember that one match they did? And I'm afraid we're going to get a repeat of that right here in Toronto. When that match they did on NXT, I don't remember what city they were in, or if it was a takeover or what. But it ended with rep stoppage.
yeah,
Rep
that
stoppage.
was Kevin Owens' like first pay-per-view match with NXT. Yeah.
Look at Sammy selling in
Oh
that
yeah,
match.
I think Sammy's selling really matured since he got to the WWE, 100%.
I've got Rey Mysterio.
Yeah, I mean, when you're
You
Ray's
know,
size, you got to know how to sell.
you got it. And I got Kyle O'Reilly as
Okay.
a little deep cut.
Yeah, I didn't think about Kyle for sure, but I mean, great talent, absolutely.
Great talent, and he always did the selling for any group he was in. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he was the feed. He was
Especially
definitely the feed guy for sure.
especially go watch his some of the stuff in ROH. The guy really knew what he was doing for sales.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate your list. Ricky Morton has to be on any list that you're talking about for selling, as far as I'm concerned. Dusty and Tully, I mean, to me, I put them just as talented as Steamboat and Perfect and Dragon and those guys. Like, if you were to flop any of those, I wouldn't give you heat for having them on. I'm not going to give you heat for having them off, but I
Yeah.
will give you heat for Ricky Morton. I'm sticking by it. Ricky Morton, you're getting heat.
Well, you know what? I called it a win. 6 out of 7. I'm going to call that a win. You agreed with my number one, which makes me happy. And I thought I was going to take some heat for putting Brock Lesnar on the list.
Oh,
Um,
he has to be on
and
the list.
it makes me happy that I knew it wouldn't come from you. I know you well enough after
I'm
5 years
smart.
that you are, well, fuck, I hate saying that. You're smart enough to know that the nuances of this sport. I just feel like some people, they think of Brock Lesnar and they don't think of selling, they think of squashing. And there is an art to the squash, by the way.
So does that
There
mean
really is.
that I beat the smart kids? I beat the smart kids. I will not bend my Wookie. Yeah, I don't know. I think Arn and Tully, they would fight to get on my list as a tag team as well. I'd cheat to put them both on because
Well, so would they.
S
So
SMRT. I am so smart.
um here's a little side tangent right before we go into it. What non-wrestling personalities would you put on this list?
Like like
Because
give
there are
me
some you look at some of Paul Bear's selling,
Bobby Heenan number
Bobby,
one.
right? Bobby Heenan,
Paul Heyman, Jim
but
Cornette.
I think I'm going number one, Paul Bear. The how he would sell when a heel would go after him, or when the Undertaker was when he was feuding with Undertaker.
Paul
His
Bear's
selling was
mannerisms are great,
insane.
but no, you
Yeah.
can't. No one beats Bobby Heenan. Bobby Heenan was a bump machine, man. Like you could put him on your list, like, and I wouldn't have a problem with it.
Yeah, he was a trained wrestler though, so I almost don't count that.
I mean,
Um,
if you told me Bobby Heenan was on your top seven list of sellers of all time, I mean, now to think about it, I might put Bobby Heenan on my list.
uh,
Seriously, think about it. He knew how to sell as a wrestler, as a manager, and as a commentator, and
yeah,
as getting thrown out of a building by Gorilla Monsoon.
yes, he did.
You
No,
know what?
you're
I'm
not
putting
wrong yet.
Bobby's going on my list. So long.
So
I don't know.
who you throwing off there? You already threw off Ric Flair to make
Flair's
room.
gone for Ricky. So my list, I'm in no particular order. I've got to have Brock on there.
Yeah,
I gotta have
you're throwing
Brett.
off Steamboat, aren't you?
I gotta have Brett and
Or who are
Brock.
you throwing off? You're throwing off Steamboat or Perfect?
Brett, Brock, and Ricky are locked in no matter what. I think
Mhm.
they're three that have to go on there.
You can't take
Um,
Sean off. You can't take Dragon off.
Dragon is locked on for me as well. I think. Ooh, I think it's Steamboat's gonna have to go for Bobby.
Fair,
Steamboat or perfect? I don't know. Depend.
fair,
Ask me on the day. Ask me on the
fair.
day. Bobby
Yeah.
Heenan on my list, number five.
Special shout out to Jim Cornette as well. Except
God damn.
you're not really selling if you really do blow up both your kneecaps.
Fair enough. Cornette's mannerisms. He was a great manager seller
He
as
was.
well.
Very possible, big rumor that he might make Hall of Fame this year, by the way.
Oh yeah,
Yep. The two big rumors coming up right now are Demolition and Jim Cornette.
that'd be all right.
Yeah,
I'd be fine with both of
I'd be
those.
okay with
It's
that.
a good Hall of Fame class. And let's
Beautiful.
push. And I want the Dynamite Kid in there.
He's still not in it. There's something wrong there. Yeah.
We'll make it
He
happen.
should have went in when he was alive. That makes me sad.
Yeah.
They had time. All right.
Okay.
Well, next week we are it's our go home show. It's go home to Elimination Chamber. I am going to be talking about the greatest Elimination Chamber pay-per-views in history. That's right. I'm going to be counting down all 14 of them. The from 2010 to 2024. There was no pay-per-view in 2016. Yes, I can count. So I'm almost done watching every one of them. It's taken forever, but I'm almost done. I'm working on my ranking. Next week, we're going to rank all the top 7 of those pay-per-views. That's going to be fun. And then we're going, man. The next time you'll hear from us after that will probably be live on Instagram, showing you some cool stuff from the Elimination Chamber. I'm excited. It sort of sucks like I don't get to sit with you. You and I have never been to a WWE show together.
No, we have not.
But no, but we'll have to fix that one day. But I'm not too upset because I'll be sitting next to my son on his very first ever WWE show, and I'm fucking pumped about that.
Yeah,
In
it's
the
gonna be
same
good.
building where I had my first WWE show,
My
which
first
was
WWE
so
show
super
was at
cool.
the Newmarket Ray Twinney Recreational Complex.
I still can't believe they used to work those buildings.
Main evented by
Because
Ric Flair versus the Macho Man Randy Savage. Unbelievable.
what do you get fit in the Raid 20? 2,000
Yeah, give or
tops?
take.
Yeah.
This was 92, remember, right? Business wasn't
Yeah.
hot.
Yeah.
But that card
Love
had
that.
that card was cool. Main evented by Ric Flair versus Macho Man. The
Yeah.
Undertaker was on the card against Kamala. Road
Yeah.
Warrior Hawk fought a singles match. Kerry Von Erich was on the card. Like
That's a great house show, dude.
really cool to look back on. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. And the same thing could be said about me. That my first house show was at the Sky Dome, and we had got like the main event was Triple H and Steve Austin with with Vince McMahon himself as the special guest timekeeper, and Dude Love as the special guest bell ringer, I guess, something like that. At a house show.
Gotta
At
love
a
me
house
some.
show,
Gotta love me
you
some
know?
dude love. Have mercy.
And then there was like, but this was like corporate Dude Love. That was that
Yeah, this
weird Dude
was
Love thing. Yeah.
probably right around the time when he was fighting Austin for the belt, right?
That's exactly when it was. And then it was like we got Taker and Kane during the show, and I got to see Owen Hart versus Vader. Well, it was a great show. All
Absolutely.
right, but that's next week. Until then, if you haven't done it already, please hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, hit all those buttons. If you see a button, hit it. Just except for the unsubscribe. Don't hit that one. That's a
Yeah,
bad
don't
one.
do that.
No, no, no. Other than that, we're everywhere, my friends. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Thread, Discord. If there's a thing, we're probably there. We are everywhere you find your podcasts, from Spotify to Apple Music, anywhere else, and of course we're on YouTube. You can't spit and not hit count it out. We're everywhere. Tell your friends, tell your grandma, tell your dog. Until next week, my friends. We love you, and you've been counted out.
Cheers.